Hello my friends, welcome to the Commander's Crypt. Today we're going to be talking about the Ziatora Advanced build. I did a deck building session with this where we kind of talked about cards that we might be able to put into this deck. But now I've test played it and I have cut it down to the 100 cards. So without further ado, we will get into the Ziatora The Incinerator build. One more thing, go for games. If they've partnered with the Commander's Crypt. If you are looking for cards, go check out their website or go in there and support your local game store. Ziatora The Incinerator, kind of my favorite commander from this set because I love demons and dragons, So that's what we're going to do today. Ziatora the Incinerator is joined in 3 colorless legendary creature, demon, dragon, flying. At the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice another creature. When you do, Ziatora the Incinerator deals damage equal to that creature's power to any target, and you create 3 treasure tokens. So what I have found out after playtesting this general is after you sacrifice a creature or 2, the command tax is no big deal. Getting this guy out again and again is no problem, especially if you set it up right where you're creating tokens and then sacrificing them and getting the treasure tokens, and if he dies you use those treasure tokens to pay the tax to get him out again. It's a very fantastic deck. It's a lot of fun. It's very powerful. I really like this deck. So he's a 6/6 flyer, so I'm going to show you how I built mine, and I hope you like it. So there he is. That's going to be the commander. And then next, of course, we're going to have the fast, cheap mana, that cheapest mana that we can get in there, out as quickly, as safely as possible. Sorry about that. I'm a little under the weather. So we've got the Soul Ring. Then we've got Arcane Signet, which is a very good card. Just came out a couple years ago, but already it's a staple in Commander. Commander Sphere, the good thing about it is it gives you any mana that's in your commander, but then also you can sack it to draw a card later when your mana is where you want it to be. Girl Signet, Dragon Speaker Shaman. I put him in here because he's going to help make your commander 2 less to cast, and there's a lot of dragons in this deck, so that's going to help to cast them as well. Next we've got Sword of the Animist. Sword of the Animist is basically a way for you to draw cards. You are able to draw lands and put them right into play, but then that thins your deck out for the bigger, better stuff that you're going to be casting later and drawing. I played this deck the other night. It won. It was a very good deck. It's a very good deck. I really like it. Now, if you know me, I love cheating out creatures. There's a lot of big creatures in this deck. With Thran's Temporal Gateway, you may put a historical permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. So for 4 mana, you can put out Razaketh the Foul-Blooded, which costs 8 to cast, and so on and so on. It also allows you to flash your Planeswalkers into play as well. After that, Quicksilver Amulet. I like big creatures, and so you're going to have a way to get them out. So we've got a Quicksilver Amulet, a Thran's Temporal Gateway, but because we're in green, we also get another special creature cheater called the Elvish Piper. 1 green, 3 colorless. Green tapper, put a creature card from your hand into play. And then there's also a werewolf. I can't quite remember the name of him. So when you were in green, you've got 2 extra cards that can cheat your creatures in. Next we've got Heroic Intervention. It gives your permanents hexproof and indestructible. So that way, once you've got a big board and someone goes to wrath it out, you can stay while everybody else's dies. Italy, Primal Storm. This card is so good, they're just putting it into everything. Very good card. I wish he was a dragon, but he's not. So 2 red, 4 colorless. When he attacks, exile the top card of each player's library. Then you may cast any number of non-land cards exiled this way without paying their mana costs. I also have one of these in my Ishin deck. With Ishin, you get to double that for each opponent. It's very, very backbreaking. This is a very good card, and it works really well with Ilhard, which is also in this deck, which I will show you. Next is Rise of the Raging Storm. This is a red enchantment, 2 red, 3 colorless. Creatures named Lightning Rager can't attack you or planeswalkers you control. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player creates a 5/1 red elemental creature token named Lightning Rager. It has trample, haste, and at the beginning of the end step, sacrifice this creature. The reason why this card is in this deck, it works very well in this deck. It gets the party started. What happens is 5th turn you play this, and then 6th turn during your upkeep you will be able to make a dude, but it'll already be working for you. You play this 5th turn, and then when it gets on to the next person's turn, they create an elemental, 5/1 elemental. It can't attack you, so it gets the party started. It gets everybody attacking each other, and it makes the game shorter. It brings your opponent's life totals down. And then when it comes back to you, and you make one, if you can get in somewhere, you can swing and do 5 points of damage, but then you can sacrifice it to Ziatora, do another 5 points of damage after you fling it at somebody, at a target, then you get your 3 treasure tokens. So very, 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 very good card in this deck. Another good thing about that is once everybody starts attacking each other, they may forget the first reason as to why they're attacking each other, and they might continue to be fighting each other while you get to work your plan. So this is a very, very good card, and it works really well in, I'm going to show you later, I've got a bunch of enchantments that do damage when creatures come into play, like Warstorm, Surge, etc. And we've got some token doublers in here, so you may be able to get 2 of these per turn, and instead of everyone else is just getting 1. Fantastic card in this deck. Dragon Broodmother, she's fantastic as well. 3 red, 2 colorless, 4/4 flyer. At the beginning of each upkeep, put a 1/1 red and green dragon creature token with flying and devoured 2 into play. So what happens with this is, if you've got Scourge of Valkis out or Dragon Tempest, it does a point of damage to any target for every dragon that comes out. So first dragon will come out, you'll already have the Broodmother out, so that'll be 2 points of damage. When the second, and this goes every player's turn. As it goes around the table, you make another dragon. So then you'll have a dragon come in that can do 3 points of damage to any target, and then the next dragon will come in and be able to do 4 points of damage to any target, then 5 points of damage. So very good card in this deck. It creates you blockers, dummies that you can then sacrifice to Ziatora. And then what I like to do is I like to get a bunch of little 1/1s out there, but then when it starts getting closer to you, have the last 2 devour each other, and now you got a couple of 4/4s or 5/5s and 6/6s out there. So this is a very fantastic card in this deck. Scourge of Valkis, there he is. 3 red, 2 colorless flying. Whenever Scourge or another dragon enters battlefield under your control, deals X damage to any target, where X is the number of dragons you control. So as you can see, this works very well with the Dragon Broodmother. Next is Pandemonium. Be careful with this card. This card works for anybody, so if you got somebody out there making a bunch of zombies or whatever, they're going to be able to do the same thing. This might be a card that you play later when you're heads up with the last 1 or 2 opponents. It reads, whenever any creature comes into play, that creature's controller may choose to have it deal damage equal to its power to target creature or player. So this works for everybody, so be careful with this card. Warstorm Surge, 1 red, 5 colorless. Whenever a creature enters battlefield under your control, It deals damage equal to its power to any target. You're going to be creating. You're going to see there's all kinds of tokens you're going to be creating besides the regular creatures that you're putting out. Gratuitous violence, that doubles it. 3 red, 2 colorless. If a creature you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage to that permanent or player instead. So if you fling something at somebody with Ziatora, it's going to be double, etc., etc., etc. Very, very good card. Next is Terror of the Peaks. 2 red, 3 colorless. Excuse me, sorry, I have a cold. Flying spells your opponent's cast that target Terror of the Peaks cost an additional 3 life to cast. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Terror of the Peaks deals damage equal to that creature's power to any target. If you've got token doublers and tokens keep popping in, zap, 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 you're going to be zapping everybody's commanders and other stuff, and you're going to be the only one with a board presence. Where Ancients Tread, same thing. 1 red, 4 colorless. Whenever a creature with power 5 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, you may have Where Ancients Tread, deal 5 damage to target creature or player. They're all going to be about 5. Dragon Tempest, there it is. This gives your dragons haste, but then it also does damage to any target for however many dragons you have out. So if you play this before Ziatora, when Ziatora comes out, it gets to zap somebody for however many dragons are out there, and then you get to swing right away. The main ways you're going to win with this deck is commander damage from Ziatora. There's ways to double his power, and there's a few other big bombs at the end of this deck that I'll show you that also will allow you to win. Vorpal Sword, that's one of them. That's a bomb. With you making the treasure tokens from Ziatora and other ways which I show you, mana's not going to be a problem. For 3 black mana, you can cast and equip this, and then for another 8, you can. If you hit somebody with it, it takes them out of the game. Insurrection's another bomb in this deck. With all the treasure tokens that you're going to be making, there's a few other treasure token generators that I haven't showed you yet here. What this does is late game, it allows you to play this, take everybody's creatures and win the game. Sandstorm Convergence. This is good in the deck because it allows you to attack and you don't have to worry about the crackback if there's other opponents out there with flyers. But then what it does is, this is one of the best cards in Commander because it stops your opponents from attacking you through the air, but then it gives you a 5/5 green worm token to block any ground attacks. And again, I'll show you the token doublers in here. You could be making 2 of those, so 5 power worms. 10 power worms. And then there's Parallel Lives. Parallel Lives is an expensive card now. They're like 45 bucks. It's an enchantment green, and what it basically says is if you were to make a token, you could double those tokens. This is an expensive card. I'm going to show you Doubling Seasons is like an $80 card. This is a better card. I just checked the prices on these primal vigors, and they're like $20. So that would be the way to go. Get you some of these before they get too expensive. Now, again, this works for everybody, so be careful. You're going to be making the most tokens, so it's going to be more for you, but other people could still use it. It says if 1 or more tokens would be created, twice that many of those tokens are created instead. If 1 or more +1 counters would be put on a creature, twice that many counters are put on that creature instead. So these are cheap, and they're plentiful, but that's because they help opponents as well. Next, we're going to get into the advanced combos part of the deck. In this deck, we're going to have the worldgorger dragon animate dead combination to win the game. With necromancy is an enchantment, 1 black, 2 colorless. You may choose a creature from a graveyard, put it into play. Then you've got Azuri's Predation. Azuri's Predation, what it does is it also creates you tokens, but it also is a board wipe. And if you've got one of your double token generators out there, you're going to get double the tokens after you wipe the board. So that's the good thing about Azuri's Predation. Works well in this deck. This is a really fun deck. Dragon Master Outcast creates you 5/5 dragon tokens if you have 6 lands out during your upkeep. That's my altered version of that. Giant Adaphage, 2 green, 5 colorless is a 7/7 trampler. Whenever Giant Adaphage deal combat damage to a player, put a token on the battlefield. That's a copy of Giant Adaphage. So you get to make blockers, and then they'll do damage if you've got a Warstorm Surge effect out there. And then you can fling these things for 7 points of damage and give yourself treasure tokens with Ziatora. Skyline Despot, same thing. 2 red, 5 colors, 5/5 flyer. When he enters the battlefield, you become the monarch. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you are the monarch, you create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. Lathless Dragon Queen, same thing. 2 red, 4 colorless, 6/6. Whenever another non-token dragon enters the battlefield under your control, put a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. You'll be able to Warstorm Surge people, and then Ziatora can fling those and get treasure tokens. Udvala Hellkite does the same thing. 2 red, 6 colorless, flying. Whenever a dragon you control attacks, put a 6/6 red dragon creature token with flying onto the battlefield. So let's say you got Ziatora out and maybe another dragon. You just play this. He doesn't have to attack. And then when Ziatora and that other dragon attack, you make 2 6/6s. So, and then next turn, you'll have 5 6/6s, which then attack and create 5 more. Then you'll have 10, which will create 10 more. But then with a Warstorm Surge, all of those dragons coming in are just blasting everybody for damage. Very good card in this deck. Now we've got the Reanimator package. Necromancy would go in there, and then Sword of Light and Shadow. Sword of Light and Shadow was kind of the less played, not as people felt it wasn't as good a card as the other swords, but I beg to defer. It'll give Ziatora +2/+2 and pro black and white. That's the 2 main killer colors. And then he's 8/8. So if he's able to attack, you'll be able to hit somebody 3 turns and knock them out with commander damage. But then also you'll get 3 points of life link every time it hits, and then you'll be able to pull a creature out of your graveyard and put it into your hand with this. So very, very good. With Dance of the Dead and Necromancy and Animate Dead, what we can do is we can pull out Worldgorger Dragon, and with Worldgorger Dragon, we can now win the game. What happens is you target Worldgorger Dragon with an Animate Dead. The Animate Dead targets it. It comes into play. When Worldgorger Dragon comes into play, it blinks out all of your permanents. So the Animate Dead disappears. The Worldgorger Dragon goes back to the graveyard. The Animate Dead reappears, pulls the Worldgorger Dragon out, and a loop is created. You can tap your lands and put that mana in your mana pool every time your lands come back into play. But then with all of the Warstorm Surges and Dragon Tempest, you could stack it to where any dragons you have come in, even if it's just 1 or 2, even if it's just Worldgorger Dragon, you could stack it to where your Warstorm Surge or whatever comes into play first, then this comes into play, does the damage, blinks out, and you win the game that way. That's one of the many bombs that this deck has, other than the Vorpal Sword win con. We've got other ways to win with Savage Ventmaw. What you can do is attack, and it gets 6 mana, and then with your treasure tokens that you're creating and with Clouth, you can create a bunch of mana and then fire off mega spells that way. What I did the other day was I had Clouth, Razaketh, and Overlord Hellkite out, and I swung in at somebody, and it's not an attack trigger. It's an attack trigger, not a hit trigger. So it says whenever Clouth attacks and add X mana in any combination of colors where X is the total power of attacking creatures. Spend this mana only to cast spells until end of turn. You don't lose this mana as steps and phases end. Yes, I read that correctly. When this guy attacks, it adds up all of the attacking power of all your creatures, and now it becomes mana that you can use in your second phase. So what I did was I sacrificed a creature to Razaketh, the tutor, for a Crackle with Power, and I had 21 points of mana, and I was able to do 35 points of damage to 3 different targets and win the game. That's another way you could win with this deck, is with Clouth, Savage Ventmaw, and Crackle with Power, and wipe the table. I would recommend getting Crackle with Power. I don't see them ever reprinting this card. It's just too strong. I'm surprised it got past the researchers, the R&D guys. This thing wins so many games. Every night I see it win a game. Next is Vivectus Asmati the Dire. He's a 6/6 flyer. He's a Chaos Whelp on a stick. He's also joined in 3 colorless. Whenever Vivectus Asmati the Dire attacks, for each player, choose target permanent that player controls. Those players sacrifice those permanents. Each player who sacrifices a permanent this way reveals the top card of their library, puts it on the battlefield if it's a permanent card. So if the first card on their deal isn't a permanent, they don't get it. So what you do with this is you attack and you target your opponent's worst permanents, and then you target one of your lands, and the worst that can happen to you is you get another land. But if you get another creature, you're doing great. It allows you to take out very problematic permanents that your opponents have. You just got to hope that they don't put something even worse out there, but the chances of that are smaller. Next, we've got Scourge of Core Ridges, another dragon, 2 red, 6 colorless. This is going to help you. On top of all the other damage you're slinging, taking out everybody's commanders and creatures and stuff, this is a mass pyroclasm that allows you to wipe the ground with ground pounders. 1 red, 1 colorless. Scourge deals 2 damage to each creature without flying, and then you can bump that up. 2 red, 2 colorless to make it 4. 3 red, 3 colorless to make it 6, to wipe out everything on the ground. All of your creatures are going to have flying. Ilharg the Raised Boar. This is a very good card in here. This is a good replacement for Sneak Attack. 6/6 Trampler, 2 red, 3 colorless. Trample, whenever he attacks, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. Return that creature to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. So if you've got a good ETB, that works really well. And it also protects that creature by keeping it in your hand. Ilharg works really well with Meteor Golem. If you can do that every turn, you can destroy your opponent's best permanents. The Tarka World Render, what she does is red, green, 5, flying trample. Whenever a dragon you control attacks, it gains double strike until end of turn. So that will give Ziatora, your commander, first strike and double strike, and you can take out somebody with commander damage in 2 turns. But that's also all dragons. Bag of Tricks. Everyone knows me. I love cheating creatures. This is another way to do it. Green, colorless. Artifact, 1 green, 4 colorless, roll a d8. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card with mana value equal to the result. Put that card on the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So that's another way to cheat creatures in. Mr. Orfeo the Boulder, he's in here to again give Ziatora double strike. So again, somebody's on a 2-turn clock for commander damage. Next we got Master of Cruelties. Master of Cruelties works really well with Ilharg, the raised boar. This could be in your hand and nobody know it. You attack with Ilharg, and if they don't have a block, you win the game. Once they come in and are unblocked, they go down to 1, and then Ilharg will do the rest. Another win con in this deck. Garruk's Uprising is an enchantment. It's in here to allow you to draw cards, give your creatures trample, and it says whenever a creature with 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. So you get to draw a card when it comes in and draw a card when a big creature comes in. Druid of Purification. This is one of the best removal spells that have come out in a long time. 1 green, 3 colorless. When Druid of Purification enters the battlefield, starting with you, each player may choose an artifact or enchantment you don't control. Destroy each permanent chosen this way. So the more opponents you have, the more things are going to get destroyed, and your opponents are going to target things that are giving you and them the most trouble. But it says an artifact or enchantment you don't control. So everybody kills everybody else's stuff but you. Very, very, very fantastic card. Dragon Horde works well in this deck. It's 3 colorless, gives you any mana. Whenever a dragon enters battlefield under control, put a gold counter on it. So anytime your tokens come in or you cast a dragon, you get counters on it, and then those counters you can tap it to continue to draw cards every turn. You're going to have all kinds of counters on this thing. Then we've got Turn Timber, Serpentine Wood. We've got a couple of utility lands in here that help you. So what it does is it comes in a land if you need it to, or you can play its sorcery side. And the sorcery side says, look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield. If that card has converted mana 3 or less, it enters with 3 additional 1/1 counters. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So here's another way to cheat cards out of your deck and onto the battlefield. Terror of Mount Velas's in here. 2 red, 5 colors, 5/5 double strike. When he enters the battlefield, creature you control gain double strike till end of turn. So if he doesn't have haste, you can cast him, but then all your dragons, boom, get double strike. And it says creatures. It doesn't even say dragons, but then he gets double strike as well. Fantastic card in this deck. Blackblade Reforged. This is a bomb. For 2 colorless and then 3 to equip it, you can put this on something late game. It comes out of nowhere, and now Ziatora is massive. And do it on Ilharg. Ilharg has trample, you know. So, very good card in this deck. Karthus, Tyrant of Jund. This guy's fantastic. 7/7. Jund, 4 colorless, flying haste when he comes into play. Gain control of all dragons, then untap them. Other dragon creatures you control have haste. Many times I've played this, taking everybody's dragons and then beat everybody else up with them. You keep the dragons. It's not just a one-time effect. Fantastic card. Another good card to put in here would be Crux of Fate. Crux of Fate is 2 black, 3 colorless. It destroys all non-dragon creatures, so it's a one-sided board wipe. So everybody knows we here at the Commander's Crypt love one-sided board wipes. Profane Tutor. I've got this in here to tutor for something. Tutor for your combo pieces. If you don't feel like paying $50 or more for a demonic tutor, you could play this instead. It's going to take a couple turns to happen, but it's very cheap, only a couple of bucks. County Ambush, it's another forest, but what it does, you can play it as a forest, or you can use its instant side, and target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. So it's another method of removal. Here's another utility land, Bala Ged Sanctuary. Return target card from your graveyard to your hand. So that's also very good to have in here. to get any big bombs you want to get out of your graveyard. Klaus Will, this is a very, very strong card. 1 green, 2 red, X, choose one. If you control a commander, as you cast a spell, you may choose both. For X, Klaus Will deals X damage to each creature without flying, and then smash relics, destroy up to X target artifacts or enchantments. If Ziatora is out, you'll be able to wipe the board of everything except your flyers. Another fantastic one-sided board wipe at instant speed. On top of all of the Warstorm Surge damage, we've got Flame Blast Dragon. 5/5, whenever he attacks, you may pay X and red. If you do, it deals X damage to target creature or player. Hellkite Overlord, this guy is a beast. Green, 2 red, black, 4. Flying Trample Haste. He's got fire breathing, and then you can regenerate him as well. So if he comes into play, you'll blast somebody with the Warstorm Surge for 8, and then he's got regeneration. Beast Within, that's to get rid of problematic lands or enchantments or anything else. Dragonborn Champion, he's a dragon, he doesn't fly sadly. 5/3, whenever a source you control deals 5 or more damage to a player, draw a card. So you're going to be drawing all kinds of cards. Revel in Riches works well with Ziatora. Besides you killing everything from the Flame Blast Dragon and the Warstorm Surge damage and all that stuff, you're going to have treasure tokens. You might be able to win the game just with this win con. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, create a colorless treasure artifact token. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 10 or more treasures, you win the game. Between Ziatora and killing all the creatures, you'll have plenty of treasure tokens to cast whatever you want, your big bombs or whatever, or just win the game with the win con. Bootlegger's Stash works well with Revel in Riches. Artifact, 1 green, 5 colorless, lands you control, half tap, create treasure tokens. Again, you're going to be able to power your big bombs and maybe win the game with that. Razaketh the Foul-Blooded, 3 black, 5 colorless, he's black, he's the 8-ball. Flying Trample, pay 2 life, sack another creature, search your library for a card, put that card in your hand and shuffle your library. That is not at sorcery speed, that is at instant speed. When I attacked the other night, somebody tried to take one of my dragons. As I was attacking, I sacrificed it to Razaketh. So his spell fizzled, and then I tutored up the Crackle with Power and won the game. Very, very good card. Then we got Volrath Stronghold. It is a land that allows you to, for 1 black, 1 colorless, put target creature card from your graveyard on the top of your library. Then we've got Haven of the Spirit Dragon. That's very good in any dragon deck. What it does, it gives you colorless, but then it also taps to add 1 mana of any color if you're casting a dragon creature spell. But then also to tap it, sack it, you get to return target dragon creature card or Ugin Planeswalker card from your graveyard to your hand. So that's also another way to get your dragons out of the graveyard. So that's it. I hope you like my Ziatora build. This deck is a lot of fun. Another thing that I would recommend is either Butcher of Malakir, Reaver Demon, or Edict of Erebos. What those cards do is they make your opponent sacrifice a creature whenever you sacrifice a creature. So that's it. I hope you like it. I really enjoy making these videos, and I'm glad you joined us for this. I really like making these videos. I really like having this channel. We have a lot of exciting things coming up in the future, so please, if you've gone this far, please like and subscribe. Our model here at the Commander's Crypt is we don't want to just be a Commander channel. We want to be a Commander community, and you'll see we're gonna be doing things. We're gonna be doing contests. We're gonna be flying folks down here to New Orleans to play with us and to do the tours here and see our city and all that kind of stuff. And we're also, you know, besides a Commander channel, the plan is in the future to also have other videos that can educate my crypties on ways to make their life better and things to do. So, like I said, this isn't, I don't want this just to be a community. I want a channel. I want it to be a community too. Eventually, I will be putting videos on here that will help anybody in my community. You'll see, I promise. Just keep an eye out and you'll see what I'm talking about. So that's it. We're going to get out of here. I have a website as well. Go on there. I also have Patreon. Please add to the Patreon there. All the money that I get to Patreon goes to the ASPCA. So please subscribe. You'll be glad you did. We'll see you next time on the Commander's Crypt.